Have you ever wondered why some days you feel completely drained after doing very little, while other days you can accomplish incredible feats without breaking a sweat? What if I told you that everything you believe about energy and fatigue is fundamentally wrong? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. We've been conditioned to think of our energy as something finite, a battery that depletes with use and needs regular recharging through rest, food, and recovery. This understanding has shaped our entire approach to life, work, and self-care. But what if this foundational belief is actually holding us back from experiencing limitless vitality? The revolutionary teachings of Emmett Fox present a radical alternative. Energy is not something you possess or lose. It's not measured in calories, stored in muscles, or dependent on age. Rather, energy is a spiritual quality, a connection to an infinite source that never depletes when properly understood. Has this ever happened to you? You wake up feeling exhausted despite a full night's sleep, or you find yourself completely drained after a simple conversation? According to Fox, what we're experiencing isn't true physical exhaustion at all. It's a mental construct that we've accepted as reality. This insight is truly liberating. Fatigue isn't the inevitable consequence of effort. It's an illusion fabricated by the mind. Your body becomes tired because your mind decrees tiredness. The body, as Fox explains, is obedient but not intelligent. It carries out what the mind dictates. If the decree is fatigue, that's what it manifests. If the decree is renewal, it obeys that too. Stay with me until the end of this series, because what you're about to discover might completely transform how you experience life. Imagine moving through your days with a consistent flow of vitality, never hitting that afternoon slump, never dreading tasks because they might drain you. The truth is that spiritual energy is like the living water that Jesus described to the Samaritan woman. It doesn't run out, become dirty, or stagnate. It flows continuously if you don't close the channel. When we live from the ego, we become drained. But when we live from what Fox calls the inner Christ, we expand, not because we do less, but because we act from a different axis. This understanding isn't just philosophical, it's intensely practical. Throughout history, there have been individuals who demonstrated extraordinary endurance and vitality, not because they were physically superior, but because they understood and applied this principle. They knew that true rest isn't about physical stopping, but releasing inner resistance. What you're going to learn in the coming minutes could fundamentally alter your relationship with energy, fatigue, and productivity. We'll explore practical techniques too. Reconnect with your source, because you weren't created to be exhausted. You were created to express the divine. And the divine, which is pure life, didn't give its children an existence of energetic scarcity. The journey to unlimited energy begins with questioning everything you thought you knew about how your body and mind work together. Are you ready to discover the art of multiplying your energy? If you found value in these insights about multiplying your energy, I invite you to join our spiritual growth community by subscribing to this channel. Each week, we explore transformative principles that bridge ancient wisdom with practical application, helping you access the unlimited vitality that's your spiritual birthright. By subscribing, you'll receive notifications when we release new content designed to elevate your consciousness and energetic potential. You'll be part of a growing family of seekers committed to living from spiritual truth rather than limitation. The journey we've begun today continues in each video, building a complete framework for energetic mastery that you can apply in every aspect of your life. Subscribe now and take this important step toward claiming the abundant energy that's already within you. Your transformation matters, not just for you, but for everyone your renewed presence will touch. The most remarkable revelation in this journey of understanding energy is how completely the body submits to the mind's authority. Your body isn't a separate entity with its own agenda. It's an instrument of your soul, and the soul never tires. This hidden truth transforms our entire understanding of human capacity. When your mind declares exhaustion, your body obediently manifests fatigue. When your mind decrees vigor, your body responds with strength. Consider why two people can perform identical tasks with dramatically different outcomes. One person mows the lawn for 2 hours and feels refreshed and accomplished, while another collapses in exhaustion after 30 minutes of the same activity. The difference isn't physical capability, it's the internal dialogue happening beneath conscious awareness. This mindset distinction explains one of life's great mysteries: why exhaustion often has little correlation with actual physical exertion. What truly depletes us isn't the work itself, but the inner friction generated by our thoughts during the activity. This friction might manifest as resistance. I hate doing this. Anxiety. I'll never finish on time. Or judgment. I'm not doing this well enough. Each thought creates subtle resistance that accumulates as genuine physical fatigue. The impact of this understanding cannot be overstated. It means your energy levels are primarily determined by your internal state, not by external demands. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic and address perhaps the most counterintuitive aspect of energy mastery. Unlike physical resources that deplete with use, spiritual energy actually increases through proper connection. The path to renewal isn't found in passive rest, but in active remembrance of your true nature as an extension of creative energy. When you feel drained, what you need isn't necessarily more sleep, it's a realignment with your source. This represents a complete paradigm shift in how we approach revitalization. Instead of managing energy like a limited commodity, we can tap into an infinite reservoir by remembering our spiritual identity. The journey toward unlimited vitality begins with this fundamental recognition. If any of this resonates with your own experiences of energy fluctuations throughout your day, write, "I'm reclaiming my energy," in the comments below. Let's explore one of the most powerful revelations in energy mastery: the direct relationship between thought quality and energy levels. The hidden truth that few discuss is that your vital energy isn't diminished by your activities, but by the mental atmosphere in which you perform them. Think of thoughts as having actual weight. Some thoughts are light and buoyant, lifting your entire being, while others are dense and heavy, creating a burden your body must carry throughout the day. This mindset shift represents a complete transformation in how we understand fatigue. When you perform any task, whether writing an email, having a conversation, or completing household chores accompanied by thoughts of resistance, obligation, or criticism, these thoughts create a weight that manifests as physical exhaustion. Conversely, when the same tasks are approached with thoughts of purpose, appreciation, or curiosity, your energy remains intact or even increases. But here's where this journey gets even more fascinating. Your conscious thoughts are merely the surface ripples of a much deeper current. The subconscious mind operates like a vast storage system for every thought pattern you've ever accepted as true. These invisible beliefs, many imprinted since childhood, function as commands that directly impact your energy levels. Phrases like "hard work is exhausting" or "I'm not a morning person" aren't just casual observations. They're powerful directives your subconscious faithfully executes. This revelation brings both responsibility and remarkable opportunity. By consciously choosing which thoughts to entertain and which to release, you're literally rewiring the energy conditions of your life. One of the most impactful decisions you can make is implementing what Fox calls a morning mental cleansing, a practice of deliberately selecting thoughts that align with truth, nobility, and purity before your day even begins. Imagine starting each morning by examining the thoughts waiting at your bedside. Instead of automatically picking up yesterday's mental baggage, you consciously filter your thinking, discarding what doesn't serve your highest good and embracing what elevates your spirit. This isn't positive thinking as mere motivation. It's strategic energy management at the source. If you're ready to begin this practice of mental cleansing to transform your energy, comment below with "Morning Mindset Matters" and let me know which thought you'll release first. Now I'd like to challenge a fundamental misconception that has shaped our entire approach to rest and recovery. We've been conditioned to believe that rest means physical inactivity, lying down, stopping movement, ceasing production. This revelation might transform your understanding completely. True rest isn't about stillness at all. It's about inner peace and the absence of resistance. Think about those moments when you've been physically inactive, perhaps lying on your couch or even on vacation. Yet your mind continues racing, burning with thoughts, worries, and mental friction. Despite the physical pause, no genuine restoration occurs. The profound insight here is that exhaustion doesn't originate in the body, but in internal resistance. Real energy doesn't come from external silence, but from inner stillness. This understanding unveils a revolutionary approach to daily life. You don't need to stop working to rest. You need to stop creating internal friction while working. The hidden truth behind sustainable energy isn't about doing less, it's about acting from a higher level of consciousness. When you operate from spiritual awareness rather than ego-driven effort, what you do flows naturally, without the weight of resistance. Imagine washing dishes in perfect peace, writing a report without tension, or handling a difficult conversation without your breath becoming agitated. This state, working while resting, being active yet at peace, isn't some mystical achievement. It's your natural condition when aligned with your spiritual nature. Behind this transformative principle lies another revelation. A spiritual energy current constantly flows through you, from the crown of your head to the soles of your feet. This circuit is always active, but doesn't always flow freely. Like a river encountering obstacles, your energy meets blockages created by fear, guilt, and resentment. These emotional states don't just affect how you feel, they literally restrict the flow of vital energy through your system. Understanding this energy circuit changes everything about how you approach daily life. Your body becomes not just a physical entity, but a channel for spiritual energy. The journey toward unlimited vitality involves not just managing external activities, but clearing internal pathways to allow this natural current to flow unimpeded. If you're starting to recognize how resistance has been blocking your energy flow, comment "Inner peace is true power" and share which emotional blockage you're most aware of in your life. The path to understanding energy becomes even more fascinating when we examine how our emotional landscape creates physical effects on our energy system. Each emotion we carry doesn't just affect how we feel mentally, creates specific blockages in different areas of our body. This is not metaphorical, but an energetic reality with profound implications for our vitality. Guilt, for example, creates a constant contraction in the chest area, restricting the flow of energy through what many traditions consider our heart center. Anger closes channels in the abdomen, affecting our core energy and digestive function. Sadness, especially when prolonged, hardens the neck, back, and shoulders, precisely why we often carry tension in these areas during difficult emotional periods. Perhaps most insidious is resentment, which produces sudden, unpredictable interruptions in energy flow throughout the system. This revelation leads us to a counterintuitive truth about energy management that contradicts everything our survival instincts tell us. Most people approach energy from a scarcity mindset, treating it as a limited resource that must be carefully preserved and protected. But the soul operates according to a higher law that might initially seem paradoxical. Spiritual energy multiplies when shared, not when hoarded. Consider this fundamental distinction in consciousness. There are two ways to live: from the consciousness of the vessel or from the consciousness of the source. The vessel contains a fixed amount it gives and becomes empty, constantly protecting itself for fear of running out. The source, however, doesn't accumulate, it radiates. The more it flows, the more abundant its stream becomes. The real transformation begins when we understand how the ego's defensive nature creates the very depletion we fear. The ego feels inherently vulnerable and believes it must control, protect, and store energy. Even after moments of spiritual insight or connection, its first impulse is to hoard the energy received out of fear of loss. This manifests in subtle ways that directly impact our vitality, isolating ourselves to prevent peace from being taken, keeping inspiration to ourselves, or hesitating to express love out of uncertainty about reciprocation. Each act of energetic retention born from fear becomes weight rather than protection. When we grasp tightly to energy, believing we'll lose it if shared, we inadvertently block the very renewal system designed to sustain us. The soul intuitively knows what the ego cannot comprehend, that giving is the pathway to receiving. If this principle of energetic abundance resonates with you, write "I release to receive" in the comments, and share one way you might practice energy sharing instead of hoarding this week. Let's explore one of the most transformative discoveries in energy mastery: how selfless service functions as a powerful catalyst for personal vitality. I've witnessed this paradox firsthand. People who claimed they had no strength to get out of bed, suddenly finding boundless energy when helping someone in need. This revelation challenges our conventional understanding of energy conservation. When we shift our focus from self-concern to genuine service, something remarkable happens energetically. The moment the soul stops asking, "How do I feel?" and instead asks, "How can I love?" energy returns like a river, finding its natural course. This isn't about martyrdom or depleting yourself. It's about directing energy outward in a way that allows new life to enter. The transformation isn't psychological, but energetic selfless service literally opens blockages in your energy system. Now I want to go even deeper into this topic by examining something we do approximately 20,000 times daily yet rarely with conscious awareness: breathing. Behind this seemingly automatic biological function lies a profound spiritual connection often overlooked in our mechanistic worldview. In Genesis, it wasn't the shape of the body that made man alive. It was the breath of God. Every inhalation is a potential yes to life. Every exhalation a surrender to the infinite. The hidden truth is that when you breathe, unconsciously, shallowly, hurriedly, anxiously, you not only limit physical oxygenation, but interrupt the flow of spiritual energy. Most people breathe only into their upper chest, barely allowing air to reach their lungs. This pattern of breathing doesn't just affect respiratory function. It creates an energetic pattern of constriction throughout your entire being. Breathing consciously transforms this limitation. When you approach each breath as a deliberate communion with divine energy inhaling, not as a biological act, but as spiritual absorption. Exhaling not mechanically, but as surrender and purification, you're engaging in what ancient traditions recognized as the most direct path to energetic renewal. This isn't about changing how you breathe physically as much as changing the consciousness from which you breathe. If you're ready to experiment with conscious breathing as a pathway to spiritual energy, type "Each breath connects me" in the comments and share what happens when you take 3 fully conscious breaths right now. Let me introduce you to what might be the most practical spiritual technique for immediate energy transformation: metaphysical breathing. This isn't just about better oxygenation or relaxation. It's a profound practice that creates renewal at every level of your being. When you approach breathing as a spiritual act, each inhalation becomes a conscious absorption of divine energy, and each exhalation becomes a deliberate release of everything that doesn't serve your highest purpose. This practice transforms breathing from a mechanical bodily function into an inner ritual, a return to source. With each conscious breath, you're not just taking in air, you're receiving universal intelligence, the same vibration that organized galaxies and sustains life. The revelation here is that this simple act, done with awareness and intention, can completely reset your energetic system in moments. Behind this practice lies another fundamental truth that's rarely acknowledged. Just as your physical body requires nourishment, your soul has essential nutritional needs. The journey toward unlimited vitality requires understanding that your soul doesn't feed on what enters the mouth, but on what enters consciousness. Every thought you accept, every emotion you harbor, and every mental image you hold becomes soul food that's either nourishing or depleting. This brings us to a critical distinction in the art of energy mastery. Not all thoughts qualify as soul. Nourishment many function more like poison, leaving toxic residue in your energetic system. Constant criticism, projected fear, self-loathing, and comparison all leave deposits that clog your energy channels. The tragedy is that when the soul becomes intoxicated with these harmful thought patterns, it begins to reject what would truly nourish it. This mirrors what happens with physical intoxication. A body overwhelmed with toxins often rejects healthy food. Similarly, a soul overloaded with negative thought patterns begins to close to prayer, flee from silence, and shun light. The path to transformation requires recognizing these patterns and making deliberate choices about the mental and emotional content you consume. Your soul awakens hungry each morning, asking for nourishment from the first moment. The pivotal decision is what you choose to feed it, the world's frequency of complaints and disturbances, or the elevated vibration of truth, gratitude, and divine connection. If you've noticed how certain thoughts leave you feeling heavier, while others bring lightness, type "I choose soul nourishment" in the comments and share one toxic thought pattern you're ready to release from your daily mental diet. The subtle yet profound relationship between your daily choices and your energy levels becomes even more fascinating when we consider the cumulative effect of what you feed your soul each day. Every morning presents a pivotal decision point. Your soul awakens hungry for nourishment, and you make a choice, often unconsciously, about what to feed it. Will you immediately tune into the frequency of complaints, disturbing news, and competitive voices? Or will you first open your consciousness to principle, to sacred silence, to elevated affirmation? This decision isn't trivial. It literally shapes the energetic signature you'll carry throughout your day. Like choosing between clean water and contaminated water, this choice either energizes your entire system or gradually intoxicates it. The revelation here is that this selection process happens largely beneath awareness, yet its impact on your vitality is immediate and profound. Behind this principle lies an even more fundamental truth about how your physical form operates. Your body has no independent will of its own. It functions as an obedient servant to your mind's instructions. It doesn't act on whim, feel by choice, or become ill by chance. Whatever commands you give it, consciously or unconsciously, it faithfully executes. This obedience occurs not through verbal instructions, but through vibrational resonance. Your body responds to the frequency of your thoughts, beliefs, and emotional states. This understanding transforms how we approach the body itself. When Paul wrote to the Corinthians that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit, he wasn't speaking metaphorically, but pointing to a spiritual reality with practical implications. Your body isn't something to be worshipped as an end in itself, nor is it a burden to be resented or neglected. It is sacred by function, a vehicle designed to express divine energy when properly understood and honored. The journey toward unlimited vitality requires reconciling these seemingly separate aspects of being, recognizing that body, mind, and spirit function not as isolated systems, but as a unified field of expression. The body doesn't cause fatigue. It merely manifests the energetic patterns established at deeper levels of consciousness. When you treat your body with reverence, not as a master or servant, but as a sacred instrument, it begins responding differently to life's demands. If you're beginning to see the connection between how you think about your body and how it performs for you, write "My body responds to reverence" in the comments, and share one way you might honor your body as a temple today. The relationship between mind and body takes on an even more practical dimension when we realize we can actually communicate with our physical form through deliberate thought. This isn't metaphorical. It's a genuine dialogue where your body responds to firm thought, clear mental imagery, and elevated emotional vibration. The key insight that transforms this practice is understanding that you're not the original power source, but a channel for higher power. When you instruct your body from this awareness, you're not forcing your will upon it, but aligning it with its true design. This communication must occur with clarity, authority, and love, not with anxiety or desperation. The body responds to conviction, not pleading. When you speak to your body with decisiveness and reverence, treating it as a faithful instrument rather than a problem to be solved, its response becomes remarkably different. This creates a blueprint for transformation that operates beneath conscious awareness. Now I want to go even deeper into this revelation by exploring the nature of emotions themselves. We've been conditioned to view emotions as uncontrollable reactions, things that simply happen to us and we must endure or manage. The breakthrough understanding is that emotions are actually vibrational frequencies you can learn to direct. While you may not control their initial appearance, you absolutely decide how long they remain and whether they anchor or elevate your energy. This perspective creates a profound shift in personal empowerment. What changes your energy isn't what you feel momentarily, but what you cultivate internally as your habitual state. Emotions like fear, resentment, hopelessness, jealousy, and guilt operate on measurably lower frequencies that create internal contraction. They literally reduce your energetic field, slow thought processes, and fatigue the body. The soul experiences a kind of shrinking, and the body faithfully mirrors this contraction. These dense emotional states function like thick fog obscuring vision, impeding progress and darkening reality. They create what feels like physical heaviness because they're operating at a frequency that restricts the flow of life force through your system. The journey toward mastering your energy necessarily involves recognizing these emotional patterns and making conscious decisions about which frequencies you'll allow to dominate your inner landscape. If you've ever noticed how certain emotions seem to instantly drain your energy while others revitalize you, type emotions are frequencies in the comments and share which emotional state you find most energizing in your experience. The counterbalance to low-frequency emotional states reveals a powerful path to energy mastery. Emotions like gratitude, joy, love, peace, and hope operate at measurably higher frequencies that create an entirely different effect on your energy system. Rather than contracting your field, these states produce internal expansion, increasing vitality, clarifying mental processes, and driving creative inspiration. They function like the light of dawn, clearing, opening, and nourishing your entire being. What's revolutionary about this understanding is that these elevated states aren't merely rewards for good fortune or the result of favorable circumstances. They're tools, frequencies that can be deliberately activated through conscious intention. When the psalmist wrote, "Serve the Lord with gladness," he wasn't suggesting an emotional preference, but revealing a spiritual law about the vibrational state most conducive to connection and energy flow. This insight leads to one of the most transformative practices in energy mastery: emotional transmutation. You're never condemned to remain in dense emotional states that drain your vitality. Through awareness and spiritual practice, you can transform heavy emotions into lighter ones. This isn't about repression or denial, but about acknowledging the emotion as a temporary visitor, feeling its vibration, and allowing it to be transmuted like smoke rising. The breakthrough here is that emotions aren't fixed substances, but energy in motion that can be elevated through conscious attention. This alchemical process doesn't require years of spiritual training. It requires only your decision to engage with emotional energy as malleable rather than fixed. Now I want to explore one of the most overlooked causes of energy depletion: the misalignment between spiritual purpose and daily actions. Many people sleep well, eat healthily, and practice self-care, yet still feel drained because they're living disconnected from their authentic direction. This creates a persistent friction, similar to a misaligned wheel that continues moving forward but consumes excessive fuel. No one can sustain high, consistent energy if their daily activities contradict their inner truth. This misalignment, even when not immediately visible, creates a silent energetic leak. The soul, when not aligned with its purpose, naturally withdraws energy, not as punishment, but according to spiritual law. It cannot fully support what doesn't represent its truth. If you've experienced that unmistakable sense of energetic alignment when your actions flow from your deepest values, write "alignment is power" in the comments and share a moment when you felt this connection between purpose and energy. A common misconception about purpose creates unnecessary pressure that drains vitality. Many believe purpose must be something grand, spectacular, or distant, a messianic mission, requiring extraordinary circumstances. The revelation that liberates us is that purpose isn't about external magnitude at all, but internal coherence. This shift in understanding transforms our relationship with everyday activities. You can fulfill your highest purpose washing a cup if that simple action aligns with your spiritual presence, your intention of service, and your awareness of unity. Conversely, you can be completely misaligned building temples if acting from ego, imposed duty, or hidden vanity. Purpose isn't an activity, it's a state of consciousness expressed through activity. This understanding releases the burden of searching for some distant calling when your true purpose is available in this moment through alignment. How do you know if you're aligned? Not by external applause, income, or immediate results, but by the sensation of internal energy. When you do something that represents your truth, you feel expansion, flow, and silent joy, no fatigue, resistance, or inner conflict. Your soul becomes light, and time feels flexible. What was once effort becomes current. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing how our relationship with time profoundly impacts our energy. There's something that drains vitality, even more than physical effort or emotional burden: a distorted relationship with time. Living in perpetual hurry, always feeling behind or out of sync, creates a silent tension that devours vital energy like a flame that never ceases. The journey toward energy mastery requires recognizing that time isn't an enemy, tyrant, or trap. In the spiritual dimension, time isn't merely linear. It's rhythm, pulse, and flow. When you synchronize with what Fox calls God's rhythm, the invisible yet perfect pattern in which life moves, you enter a current that generates energy instead of consuming it. You no longer live by pushing, but by flowing. This divine rhythm can only be perceived in the present moment through deep presence. It's not in the past because it no longer vibrates. It's not in the future because it isn't yet. It's here, beating beneath what you do, see, and feel. But to hear it requires silencing the noise of rush, calculation, and anxiety, a practice that transforms your entire relationship with time and energy. If you've experienced that remarkable state where time seemed to expand and energy flowed effortlessly, write divine timing in the comments and share what activity brings you into that timeless state of flow. One of the most persistent illusions that limits our vitality is the belief in inevitable decline, the subtle sense that once energy begins to drop, there's no turning back. This belief isn't just wrong. It's a sophisticated form of resignation that contradicts spiritual law. The revelation that transforms this perspective is understanding that decline isn't a final destination, but part of a reversible cycle. What descends can rise. What dims can be rekindled. What tires can be renewed when reconnected with Source. The Book of Job contains this forgotten gem. Your flesh will be fresher than a child's. You will return to the days of your youth. This speaks not just of physical restoration, but the total energy state of a human being. Even after exhaustion, the soul can reconstruct itself, recover what was lost, and return to a state of renewal. But this doesn't happen automatically. It requires an act of consciousness. Decline doesn't begin in the body, but in the mind, with accumulated concessions and phrases like, "I'm so tired," "This is too much," or "I have no strength." Each thought seems harmless, yet together they create an internal slope. What begins as mere thought becomes habit, and what was habit becomes a false law one you've written with your own energy. The breakthrough realization is that you can interrupt this pattern at any moment through what Fox calls the energy reset technique. This simple but powerful practice involves consciously interrupting your habitual activity, naming your current state without judgment, declaring the pattern broken from a place of spiritual authority, and visualizing renewed energy rising through your system. This isn't psychological manipulation, but energetic recalibration. Now I want to go deeper into a related principle that complements this reset capability: the true nature of prayer. The greatest mistake regarding prayer is reducing it to mere pleading, presenting it as an act of weakness or last resort. When prayer is understood in its authentic spiritual nature, it's not a request, but a channeling, a living current connecting the soul to the source of all energy. The most powerful prayer isn't the longest or most emotionally intense, but the most conscious, offered with the understanding that prayer makes the soul a living conduit of divine energy. This perspective transforms prayer from begging to alignment, from desperation to connection. If you've experienced that moment when you felt energy, return through conscious decision rather than rest. Type renewal is a choice in the comments and share when you last reset your energy through spiritual awareness. The effectiveness of prayer as an energetic practice hinges on something rarely discussed: spiritual authority. When you pray with the understanding that you're not begging for permission, but activating an established law, the entire nature of the experience transforms. Jesus expressed this without ambiguity when he said, "Whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." This isn't conditional. It's a revelation about the mechanics of spiritual energy transfer. Prayer with authority requires several internal conditions that dramatically amplify its power. Clear energy focus without scattering your attention. A bodily sensation of elevation where you physically feel the shift. And perhaps most counterintuitively, detachment from immediate results. To pray effectively is to act as one who has already received, as one already in possession of the good, which magnetically draws it into manifestation. The human journey sometimes leads us to a unique form of exhaustion that no amount of conventional rest seems to touch. This soul fatigue manifests not as mere physical tiredness, but as a profound sense of uprootedness and inner disconnection. It's that vital opacity that isn't relieved by food, vacations, or external stimulation. Modern consciousness has confused this condition with boredom or the need for distraction, but it's actually something far deeper, not mere tiredness, but spiritual exile. The body can adapt to many challenges, cold, hunger, even pain, but there's one burden it cannot bear indefinitely without breaking: the fatigue of being disconnected from center. It's the exhaustion of existing without direction, doing without presence, speaking without soul. This revelation transforms how we understand true restoration. What the soul requires isn't physical cessation, but inner reconciliation. The soul doesn't rest because the body stops moving. It rests when inner friction ceases, when it stops resisting its own life and comes into contact with what Fox calls the restoring silence. This isn't external quiet, but the living presence of the divine within. It's accessed not through elaborate techniques or spiritual merit, but through surrender, the conscious decision to release the weight you are never meant to carry. If you've experienced that unmistakable difference between physical rest that didn't restore you and true soul rest that renewed you completely, write "Inner Peace Restores" in the comments and share what helps you reconnect with your spiritual center. Now I want to reveal the central secret that brings together everything we've explored about energy mastery. For years, Christ has been taught primarily as a historical figure, a moral teacher, or an external redeemer. All of these perspectives have value, but they've often obscured a profound revelation that transforms our understanding of energy itself. The inner Christ is not merely an elevated concept or symbol. It's a tangible, powerful, and inexhaustible force present within you right now. When Paul wrote to the Colossians about Christ in you, the hope of glory, he wasn't speaking metaphorically, but pointing to an inner presence, a center of power, a spiritual flame at the core of every human being. This revelation completely reframes the journey toward unlimited vitality. You don't have to generate your own energy, struggle to maintain it, or fear its depletion as if it were a limited resource, because you're not the source, but the channel. The paradigm shift begins when you recognize that fatigue emerges from the mistaken belief that everything depends on your strength, your effort, your discipline. But when you acknowledge that there exists within you a higher energy, an active principle that never tires or exhausts, the silent miracle occurs. Energy multiplies without depletion. This activation isn't mystical or supernatural. It requires only recognition. The energy of Christ begins to flow when, from the depths of your consciousness, you declare, "It is not I who live, but Christ who lives in me." This isn't poetic language, but a transfer of center. Previously, you considered yourself the main actor, the ultimate responsible party, the doer of all things. That's precisely why you became fatigued. The transformation that occurs when You recognize yourself as an instrument of Christ energy isn't merely emotional or psychological, but structural. You no longer work, you serve. You no longer carry, you flow. And this renewal manifests in everyday life as a tangible shift in how you experience energy. The person living from Christ consciousness works more yet tires less, gives more without emptying, walks farther while feeling lighter, not because their physical body has changed, but because their energy channel is open, with Christ sustaining from within. If you're beginning to sense this inner presence as more than concept, but as living energy, type Christ within in the comments and share how this perspective might transform your relationship with energy. As we've explored this profound journey through the art of multiplying your energy, I hope you're beginning to sense the transformation that's possible. The inner Christ energy we've discussed isn't something distant or abstract. It's the living power within you, waiting to be recognized and activated in every moment of your day. What's beautiful about this approach is that it begins working immediately. You don't need years of spiritual practice to start experiencing the shift from depletion to renewal. Even small moments of alignment with your true energetic nature create ripples that expand into every area of your life. If this message has resonated with your spirit today, I'd love for you to become part of our growing community. Subscribe to join us on this journey of discovering how spiritual principles create practical transformations in everyday life. The insights we share here aren't just concepts. They're keys to living with the vitality you were designed to experience. If you've made it all the way through this exploration, type energy is spiritual in the comments. I read every comment personally and would love to hear which principle resonated most deeply with you. And if you found value in today's message, a simple like tells me that these teachings are making a difference for you. It's not just about numbers. It's about knowing these timeless truths are finding their way to the people who need them. Right over here is a video that takes these principles even deeper, exploring how to apply them specifically to healing and wholeness. Click and continue the journey with me there, because this is just the beginning of what's possible when you truly understand the art of multiplying your energy.